This month, 100 years ago, Damat Ferit Pasha finally becomes Grand Vizier of the Ottoman Empire and has the opportunity to pursue his personal vendetta with the members of the defunct Committee of Union and Progress Ittihat Veteraki. The Entente occupies more regions in Anatolia. Ottoman Greeks and Armenians secede from the Ottoman Empire, and Greek Prime Minister Eleftheris Venizelos continues his diplomatic struggle. In this episode of Salvation and Catastrophe, the Greek-Turkish War, 1919-1923. March 1990, the decree calling for the punishment of the administrators of the Armenian relocations, called genocide in most of the world, is published. This is part of the intensification of the persecution of the members of the defunct Committee of Union and Progress by the Ottoman cabinet in reaction to the pressures of the Entente powers. On 2nd March 1919, the Ottoman Sixth Army is disbanded in accordance with British demands, who saw the continued existence of this military force as a threat to their control of the oil-rich area of Mosul in Mesopotamia. 3rd and 4th March 1919, after the resignation of Ahmet Tevfik Pasha as Grand Vizier, Damat Ferit Pasha forms a cabinet. This is the first cabinet since 1912 which excludes members of the Committee of Union and Progress. The new war minister is Sakir Pasha, one of the Balkan War officers. That said, Fezit Çakmak was replaced as chief of the general staff by Cevat Çobanli, but both of them remain within the war ministry. Ferit is determined to pursue a pro-UK policy and compete with Greece for British support. He is characteristically quoted, "After Allah, me and the Sultan rely on England." His logic is not as servile as many think after the facts. He essentially bets that Greece will not be able to supplement the Ottoman Empire as an actor in the Eastern Mediterranean. And in conjunction with the pro-Ottoman feelings of important decision makers among the Entente powers and the US, the Ottoman Empire, ruled by him, might be able to retain most of its territorial sovereignty. He believes that by being more pro-UK than Greek Prime Minister Venizelos, he will be able to outmaneuver him. But he also wishes to use this opportunity to once and for all eliminate the Ittihadists, the members of the Committee of Union and Progress, as political actors in the Ottoman Empire. Considering that the CUP-inspired defense of rights groups are the most mass political organizations within the empire at this time, such a policy means opposition to the majority of Ottoman Muslim, increasingly Turkish-identifying public opinion. On 3rd March 1919, Greek Prime Minister Eleftheris Venizelos writes in a letter to Vice Premier Repoulis that while he believes Greek claims in Asia Minor will find some satisfaction, he was surprised by the US opposition to Greek expansion, which even claimed that there is no proof that Ottoman Greeks, even if they want autonomy and independence, want union with Greece. They were more willing to accept a Greek mandate over parts of Asia Minor under League of Nations oversight. Venizelos went to work to persuade American decision makers, in the absence of President Wilson, which he considered one of his friends, to accept Greek claims. The Italians were opposed to any Greek expansion, but their opposition was muted compared to the past. The supportive French and UK put a northern limit to Greek claims at Ayvalık Kidonyes, while to the south they were probably opposed to even giving to the Greeks the Meandros River Valley. Concerning the Deccanese, the Italians were adamant and unwilling to consider any idea of ceding the islands to Greece, despite opposition by the United States of America to a continued annexation of the islands to Italy. He finally tells Repoules to tell Lieutenant General Paraskevopoulos, the commander-in-chief of the Greek army, to stop the demobilization of the Crete and Archipelagos divisions, since he believed that he will need the service of those units. On 6 March 1919, in a new letter to Repoules, Venizelos, after discussing the organization of the acceptance of a French offer of railway material and stock, notes that only the UK and France support Greek claims in Asia Minor. He hopes to win over the US by personal diplomacy with President Wilson, but is worried of a possible defection by Clemenceau, the French premier. He then repeats his preferred partition plan for the Ottoman Empire, a United Kingdom mandate over Mesopotamia, Palestine, and parts of Syria, a French mandate over the remaining parts of Syria and Istanbul, Constantinople, a US mandate over Armenia and the eastern provinces that will be ceded to it, and an Italian mandate over the remaining parts of Asia Minor, essentially the future Turkish state, with Greece annexing part of Western Asia Minor and keeping another part as a mandate of its own. In a postscript, he tells Repoules to arrange for someone in the Greek government to soothe the anger of the United States ambassador in Athens, Mr. Bropers. On 8 March 1919, the Damat-Ferit administration establishes a new court-martial for crimes committed during the war, one that is significantly and considerably harsher than that established by his predecessor, Ahmet Tevfik Pasha. It will serve as a tool for the widespread purge of jihadists, whether they participated in the Armenian genocide or other war crimes, or whether they did not. On 9 March 1919, following the establishment of the new military courts, a mass wave of arrests of ex-Committee on Union Progress members follows, which includes ex-Grand Vizier Said Halim Pasha and Mustafa Kemal Pasha's close friend Fethi, later known as Okyar. In Samsun Samsuda, 200 British troops land in order to restore order and repress the activities of Topal Osman Aga, a murderous enemy of the local Ottoman Greeks, Pontic Greeks, Karadeniz Rum population. On 10th March 1919, a manifesto of the Erzurum branch of the Association for the Defense of the Rights of the Eastern Vilayets, led by Javet Dursunoğlu, is published. Also, in Istanbul, the first execution as a result of the war crimes courts is conducted. This was of a provisional district governor, Kemal, found guilty of crimes against the Armenians. His funeral became an opportunity for a large nationalist demonstration against the Damat-Ferit administration. On 14th March 1919, the fanatically anti-Greek valley of Izmir Smyrna, bearded Nureddin Pasha, later known as Sakali, is recalled by the government. During his tenure, he had antagonized the Ottoman Greek community and especially come to blows, politically speaking, with the Metropolitan Chrysostomos, as well as given support and succor to ex-Committee of Union Progress cells that were preparing political and military resistance against Ottoman Greek refugee and deportee, repatriation, and any extension of Greek control over the area. He was replaced by another aging officer, Ali Nadir Pasha. On 16 March 1919, on a momentous day, the Ottoman Greeks and Ottoman Armenian communities, through their representative institutions under the Second Constitutional Era, declared the termination of their association with the Ottoman dynasty and empire. They refused to participate in the upcoming elections of the Ottoman Parliament. This is a momentous decision, but it doesn't have any legal power for the Entente powers, which means that these people are still Ottoman citizens and can be considered traitors if they fight for other states. Crucially, the decision to boycott the elections will mean that only organizations and parties that are successors of the Committee of Union and Progress will be able to compete. On 17 March 1919, the Izmir Smyrna Self-Defense Society has a congress and declares its opposition to any Greek expansion. On 18 March 1919, French troops occupy Eregli, Pondoheraklia, and Zonguldak. The goal is to control the rich mining region, and which were part of a French concession. On 19th March 1919, in Istanbul, a nationalist women's society associated with Halide Edip has an anti-occupation meeting at the tomb of Mehmet the Conqueror. On 21st March 1919, in Budapest, Bela Kun takes power in Hungary and prepares to resist by military means the expansion of Romanian sovereignty stipulated by the negotiations at Versailles. This is the first significant military attempt to challenge the Versailles settlement. On 24th March 1919, the British occupy the city of Urfa as part of their policy of securing the district of Mosul. On 26th March 1919, Venizelos again writes to Repoulis, asking him if he began preparations for the Greek expansion in Smyrna that he had asked for in his previous letters, and especially if he had Stergiadis on board. He also notes how the question of Greek expansion in Thrace is irreversibly tied to the future of Istanbul-Constantinople. He remains hopeful that things will go the way of Greece, but is worried of negative surprises like the American opposition to Greek expansion to Asia Minor. On 28th March 1919, the Italians, without the prior consent of the other three great powers, lend troops and occupy the port city of Antalya Atalia. This decision creates great anger among the other intent leaders, and especially US President Woodrow Wilson, who is starting to get tired of Italian unilateralism. On 30th March 1919, the British occupy Mersifon in Amasya province, which controls the only road between Samsun, Samsunna and Amasya. The map you are seeing shows what regions of Anatolia foreign troops were present in at this point of time. But bear in mind that the presence of foreign troops doesn't necessarily mean that they were present in force. Detachments varied from the size of small platoons to regimental size organizations. Furthermore, small forces were dispersed throughout the empire, overseeing the continued demobilization of the Ottoman army, which is nearing its completion around this time. My sources for these episodes are Fahri Belen, Turku Savashi, Στεφάνου Ιωάννη Στεφάνου, τα κείμενα του Ελευθερίου Βενιζέλου, τόμος δεύτερος, Andrew Mango, Ataturk. I read a very interesting dissertation. I strongly suggest you to take a look at if you're interested in the events of this period. It is by Victorias Solomonidis, and the title is Greece in Asia Minor, the Greek administration of the Aydin Vilayet 1919-1922. If you are interested in the personality and politics of Aristidis Stergiadis, the Greek High Commissioner, this is what you should read. It is freely available on the internet. Also, I would like to make a point that there is a new free exhibition about the Turkish War of Independence at İş Bankası Müzesi at the Eminönü region of Istanbul, which might be something you might be interested to see. See you all next month, and keep contact with us through Twitter, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and follow our blog. See you next month.